Hi, this is Chris Davis of SlashGear, and I'm here at the Geneva Motorshow 2015 at the Bentley stand, and this is the absolutely stunning Bentley EXP 10 Speed 6. It's the company's new experimental sports car concept, but the exciting thing about it is that it's not just been done for the sake of building a beautiful two-seater sports car, it's been done to preview the future design direction of Bentley, and also perhaps, depending on customer demand and if enough people want to throw their credit cards at Bentley, to actually be a new line of cars based roughly on this that would sit alongside the Continental GT. Now, we've been speaking to the designer of the exterior and the interior designers to find out what kind of makes this not just a car that picks up the heritage of Bentley, but one that also represents the best of modern production technology and the best of technology. And you might be surprised to know exactly how much geek appeal a car like the EXP 10 Speed 6 has.
On the interior side of things, it kind of all starts here. But of course, all design projects start with influences, and the real project that we set ourselves was to understand, first of all, how do we take forward Bentley's core DNA? How do we not leave anything behind? We have such a rich heritage, such rich materials. How do we not leave anything behind, but drive everything forward into the future? And of course, this project really was a design vision of where we could take that. So we're influenced by many aspects of architecture, of design, and really of materials and what you can do with those. And then they start to really culminate in some of the initial sketch work and the kind of concept of the architecture. And these were really some of the first architecture sketches that were done of how we take this forward and how we drive that forward in the future. And of course, it was all balanced around two dominant wings, but then we wanted this see-through nature, so these floating wings. And so that element then drove through all the other areas of the car, like the doors, where again it has this floating element, and through into the console as well. So it had a lightweight message, much more sporting than maybe where we see Bentley today. And those elements also then started to come into some of the details. And in the details, we really paid a lot of attention, because when you enter a Bentley, there's always the first sensory kind of experience. The leather, the wood, the metal. But then we said, how do we create a second and a third experience so that when you look closer, there's a journey of discovery. So it's constantly being almost revealed to you, which is why we have the combi unit here, which actually drives from its down position up. So as the car comes alive, literally, as you get ready for drive mode, it comes alive. And then all of these details, like with our knurling, you can see here with the knurling that is traditional to us, we took it to a new height where we actually milled all the way through the knurling and created this 3D data, and then the copper is on the inside, so you just look through it and you recognize there's another material. So this really just taking all of our core DNA forward and on. And these are some of these kind of key elements where likewise we really wanted to utilize the technology that's available with touchscreens and how we then take that forward. Coming to the car, you can see how we've played real tricks with our materials. So the whole car is trimmed in natural hide. So it's a Poltrona Frau leather, which is not automotive scenario, but we then in the doors integrated solid straight grain cherry wood, highlighted with copper inlays, which really are very subtle and immediately you don't even see as wood. This is just natural oiled wood, and the color and the richness comes from the natural material. So there's a real approach to honesty with our materials. And then you see on the design of the outside of the door, this kind of hollow nature of how that then passes through and then works with this floating console and that whole lightness approach. But it's very sporty at the same time. So how do we drive performance luxury forward? And this is really our vision of how we do that. You can see here also as a real close-up onto the knurling, how that copper just starts to gleam through, and how you can see some of those details, which then on the center console is this combination of really fantastic mechanical devices like the gear lever. So it's really engaging in the drive, but then everything else can go into the touchscreen. Yeah, so it actually from a design perspective cleans everything up and allows you to really focus on the joy of the mechanical elements. This driver selection rotary down there has a real click to it, and everything touches and feels and has a tactility to it as well. And I think that was really something very important. if I can demonstrate to you possibly the combi. I can show you here the combi. As you enter the car, the idea is that this really is a piece of sculpture, and you have the symmetry of the two wings, which in its down position, it's all about really the architecture of the car and the beauty of the materials. But then when the car is triggered by the B on the side of the gear lever, you can see there, that's the start for the motor. The car then comes alive, and on the combi we then start to drive that up so that the car is almost coming alive with you. As you're ready to drive it, it changes nature. And then your information is there.
So this is obviously a kind of a much more technologically advanced interior than any current Bentley has, with the 12-inch touchscreen, for instance, all of the virtual displays and that mixture of the digital dashboard and still with some of the analog touches, which kind of keep the heritage.
Exactly.
This is clearly a concept, but it's a concept that previews the future of Bentley design. How practical do you think some of these components are to maybe appear in production cars?
So some of these are very much conceptual. The driving combi at the moment is based on effectively screens that work, but are not necessarily gone through the whole automotive cycle that things need to for the quality that's required for Bentley. But we would hope that certainly everything you see has the possibility of being developed in the future. Some of it is playing slightly conceptual games, and I think it's important to really push the envelope to see what's possible. And the reality is this car is a styling exercise and a concept, but based on the customer demand, we hope to be able to respond to that if it's sufficient. And our board have been very clear that that would always be the case, that Bentley doesn't do things for no reason. Yeah, if we do something, we do it well, and there is a demand from customers, we will always try and meet that demand. And so, likewise, if these things are important to the concept, and therefore what could come from it, then we would always try our best to try and develop that.
Brilliant, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
So that's the Bentley EXP 10 Speed 6 concept. It's not going to be hitting the roads anytime soon, and I very much doubt that they're going to let us drive it, but we'll be seeing cues from the styling showing up in future Bentley models, and we'll also probably be seeing some of the production technologies offered, certainly as part of the Mulliner luxury bespoke aspect of Bentley, and then finding their way into other cars. The future of high-end performance vehicles is probably going to be bespoke, probably going to be handmade luxury, and this is a car that really typifies it.